Well, hello, everybody. I am Lauren. I'm one of the mealtime mentors here at Festival, and I'm joining you today from the Festival Foods Test Kitchen. And I am super excited to be here with Dr. Ralph Luloff. Dr. Luloff is one of the 5 founding members, board president, and lead coach at the Brain Center of Green Bay. Also joining us from the Brain Center of Green Bay is Chris Vandenhoegen, and Chris is the executive director. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
So great to be here with you today, talking a little bit about brain health and brain food specifically. So we'll get to kind of what we have going on here with the food in a second. But I would love if you guys would be able to just share a little bit about what the Brain Center of Green Bay is.
Awesome. Well, first, thanks so much for the opportunity. So the Brain Center is really a high impact nonprofit organization and a resource to the community. Like you shared, Dr. Luloff is one of our founding members. We were established in the year 2017, and we have 5 founders. And they really sought to make a difference in the community and saw a need and the ability to help people that had cognitive brain disease and conditions and support them through their journey. And really part of our mission is also to bring awareness to let the community and people know how many people are really impacted by brain disease and conditions. And that number is increasing. And those diseases include things like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, and some of the cognitive decline associated with dementias. Part of our mission also is to educate across generations. We want people at every age and every stage to know what they can do to best maximize their brains and cognition throughout their lives. Oftentimes, because our brains are so automatic, we don't think about a specific wellness regimen for them, but part of that is so important. So much science is pointing to how we live our lives, both our good habits and our bad habits play into those brain diseases and getting those things in our lives. So we're going to focus on nutrition today, but there's also things like physical exercise, a restorative sleep and getting enough sleep, having a good cognitive stimulation, whether that be the arts or the music or a good social circle, as well as avoiding the toxins and chemicals in our environment. All that plays into having good overall brain health, as well as keeping our bodies healthy.
Thank you for sharing that. It's super interesting. And it's really encouraging to hear that, we have a lot of control over some of our risk factors. And like you had mentioned, how we live our lives. And obviously, like being a registered dietitian, the food piece is really more of my expertise. And I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit more about brain foods today. So could you just share a little bit more about brain foods, maybe a couple of examples?
Yes. Our brains only weigh 3% of our total body weight, but our brains consume 20% of the energy that our body has. So
Wow.
Our brains are high octane fuel eaters. Where do we get that fuel? We get that fuel from what we eat and what we drink. And that fuel comes in the form of what we call macronutrients, the 3 main categories of foods. One is carbohydrates, one is fats, and one is protein. Carbohydrates are high energy foods. They're not as high energy, though, as the fats are. The fats have been given a bad name for quite a few decades with some actual misinformation. And the problem with the fats is that there are some fats that probably contribute to some bad things, but most of the fats are very healthy. The carbohydrates, on the other hand, and what are carbohydrates? Well, they're the grains, the sugars, the vegetables, and the fruits. And the vegetables, especially the colored vegetables, are loaded with all sorts of good things and do have satisfactory calories. The high calorics in the fat or in the carbohydrates are glucose, and those basically are sugars. They may have energy, but they're sort of bad in that a good example is a potato chip. If I put a potato chip into my mouth, I can guarantee you I will want to eat the rest of that bag of potato chips. So it's almost like it's an addiction. The grains, the complex grains are pretty good, yet sometimes the grains can have side effects too. The healthiest in the carbohydrates are the healthy colored vegetables and the healthy fruits, especially the berries. The second category, the fats. As I said, they were given a bad name for a while, but they are high energy. And actually our bodies, and especially our brains, have lots of fat in them. That's what the structures are in our brain. So don't eliminate fats from what you eat, just select healthy fats. The proteins supply a lot of structure for our body and our brains, and also can be converted into energy in the form of carbohydrates or into sugars. So we could go on and on, but you guys are better at that stuff than I am. So
Thank you for sharing all that really great information. And it's encouraging, especially the message about fats, and that, you know, fats are something that our bodies really do need, and especially those what we would normally say like heart healthy fats. But when we are talking about, you know, things being heart healthy, they're most likely also brain healthy, which is really cool. So that is definitely a common theme when you think about brain healthy foods. Oftentimes, typically, are heart healthy foods as well. And I'm excited as we're talking about brain foods today. We're going to be sharing a recipe, and I'm going to walk through that here in a moment, for salmon tacos with citrus salsa. And what's really great is we're incorporating a lot of those brain foods. So this is a super simple, like 20-minute meal that can be made as an easy weeknight meal. So I'm just going to move right into that, and we'll kind of keep the conversation going throughout the recipe. But to get started, obviously what we have here today is some salmon. This is Verlasso salmon from our meat and seafood department at Festival. This is a sustainable seafood. These are all tail cuts. You can choose center cuts or tail cuts. I'm using tail cuts today because they cook a little bit quicker, which is kind of nice, especially if you're limited on time, maybe if we're making a weeknight meal. So I have a couple of fillets here of the Verlasso salmon, and I'm just going to make a super simple rub. So for our rub, just a couple of really easy spices. We have some cumin, chili powder, and oregano. I'm going to add in just a touch of salt and pepper. Definitely optional if you are trying to avoid salt, but we're adding just a little bit for flavor. Whisking all of our spices together, and that's our rub. Really, really simple, probably ingredients you already have on hand at home. So moving into our salmon, I have it just placed on a baking sheet here with a little bit of foil. You could also grease it lightly with some cooking spray. And I'm just going to pat all of our fillets dry, just removing any extra moisture. These are pretty dry already, but this will just help that rub stick well to the salmon. And I should mention that I've already thoroughly washed my hands, very important for food safety in the kitchen. But from here, I'm just going to sprinkle on some of that rub on each of our fillets, and then take my carefully washed hands and, you guessed it, just rub this rub right into the fish. Super simple. I'm definitely a fan too of just salmon, just with a little salt and pepper. I think it has great flavor and doesn't need too much else. And then from here, I'm just going to pop this right in our oven. Our oven has been preheating 450, so high temperature. I'm going to stick this in the oven, and then I'm going to wash my hands, and we can get going on our salsa. So
Lauren,
that'll just take.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Lauren, oven versus grill. Do you have a preference there?
No, grilling is a great way to cook fish and salmon, especially if you're cooking the grill, you would just spray a little bit of the cooking spray right on the grates and pop it on there. We put these skin side down so the flesh is facing up. But if you're grilling outside, you can really do either way. I prefer to put the flesh side down actually when grilling, cook that first and then just flip it and then cook a little bit shorter on the other side. But grilled fish is excellent. So definitely a couple different options on how to cook fish. So while that's cooking, I'm going to check on it. It's typically about 4 to 6 minutes per ½ inch of thickness. Those are probably only about a ½ inch thick. So we're just going to give them 5 minutes or so. We'll check on them and go from there. So I'm going to get going on our salsa over here while our salmon is cooking. So for our salsa today, we have a lot of really great ingredients. And when we're talking about fats, obviously salmon is a source of those omega-3 fatty acids, those heart healthy, brain healthy fats like Dr. Luloff had mentioned. And another source of those fats is going to be avocado. So we've got 2 full avocados today. I'm a huge fan of avocado. What I've done already is I've just sliced these in half, and then I just have scored them to create little cubes, just dicing it up. There's so many different ways to cut an avocado. So definitely choose your favorite way, but I just found this easy for kind of what we were going for today. These avocados are ripe, and you can tell that if the avocado yields to gentle pressure. If your avocado is not ripe, you can put it by some bananas or apples, which will help speed up that ripening process. And if your avocado is ripe and you're like, oh, I don't need it for a couple days, you can put it in the fridge and that'll kind of slow it down. This avocado is like perfectly ripe, not too soft. Got like a perfect texture. So avocado, I would say, is one of those brain foods, high in those heart healthy fats, really versatile. Doesn't have, super strong flavor, so you can use it in baked goods. You can use it, as a spread or a replacement for like a mayo, dressings, and obviously really great in this
Lauren,
salsa.
Lauren, I would say that I have salmon at least 3 nights a week, and I have avocado probably 5 times during a week. It is so easy to eat. It's so nutritious, and
Totally.
I won't spoil it in the kitchen.
Yes, I would say, yeah, I eat avocado probably just that amount as well. And I have a 10-month-old daughter, and it's one of her favorite foods too. It's just soft, it's easy to eat, doesn't have a strong flavor, and again, you can use it so many different ways. So we have our avocado here. I'm going to be adding in, these are 2 we've just peeled and diced up. It does kind of give a nice kick to this salsa. And then I just got 1 lime here, and I'm just going to juice our lime. And that's really going to be the big lime. It's really going to be our salsa and all of our flavors. Use this on here.
You cater that? You cater that to us while we're sitting here watching it?
I would love to. That's the problem with virtual, isn't it? We miss out on enjoying the meal together, right?
Right.
So that's it in terms of our salsa. So while I'm mixing this up, I would love if you guys could just share a little bit about maybe what some of your go-to meals are when incorporating these brain foods, or things that you are wanting to try and haven't tried yet.
Well, a couple of quick items. When we eat it certainly helps to eat in a healthy manner. The statistic shows that 1% of adults in the United States in the early 1900s were obese or overweight. 1%. That statistic now is 35 to 40%.
Wow.
What has happened? We as a country have changed. Yeah, we have transportation, so we don't have to walk as far and things like that, but it's how we eat. And we tend to eat easy to cook food that's been already processed. And so going back to nature, going back to the healthy fruits, the healthy vegetables, the healthy proteins, and what you're showing fits in so nicely to that, because our brains love healthy foods. And so, Chris, any comments on that?
Well, I would say in the area of protein, looking at the different nuts, looking at the grass-fed meats, the eggs. So trying to find what you like within those really healthy foods, the blueberries, the raspberries, the strawberries, like Dr. Lulef mentioned, those healthy vegetables, the peppers, some of those things are just awesome for your brain. And also your overall health. So I'm cutting out some more of that processed stuff and going more with what was grown outside in nature, and is best for your brain and your body. I would love to share, Lauren, just a little bit about, who we're working with at the Brain Center. We really work with individuals and family members and caregivers through our personalized coaching program. And our coaches all, like Dr. Lulef, one of our founders and our core coach, have medical degrees, as well as we have one registered nurse retired. And so working with a family, our coaches have both that medical background because they worked in the field, as well as they all have some sort of personal experience with a neurodegenerative disease. So they get it, they've lived it, and they really understand the hardships and the challenges associated with some of those things, and how we can challenge those diseases and maintain quality of life. But then in addition to that, we are really a resource for the whole community at large, for employers and schools and groups, because again, we want everyone to know more about their brain, their individual needs and individual differences, and how they can make an impact on their brain. So we do a lot of different community presentations. We work with wonderful nonprofit agencies in town to do those presentations and that education. And we have a lot of that on our website. So we want everyone to know how to keep their brain sharp and how they can optimize their brains throughout life.
That's so awesome. You guys are doing such great work. And everybody has a brain. It is very important for all of us to, take care of ourselves. And, it's something that I think a lot of us forget about is brain health. We hear a lot about, all these other different chronic diseases or, things that we need to take care of in our bodies. But sometimes we forget about our brain, and it's definitely one of the most important things for us to take care of. So thank you so much for both of you sharing all that really great information and just all the work you're doing in our community. Is super awesome. So while you guys were chatting a little bit, I grabbed the salmon out of the oven and it looked good. Like I mentioned, those tail cuts, they bake, they cook really quickly. So what I did is I just flaked it. It's like so easily with a fork, and it's nice because then it kind of redistributes the rub, throughout the salmon. So I flaked some of that. In serving today, we're using the Siete almond flour tortillas. These are grain-free, they're dairy-free, soy-free, vegan, lots of different other claims on there. But so these are made with almond flour, like we mentioned. You could also use like a piece of romaine lettuce or just serve over greens. But using these tortillas, I'm just going to put some of our salmon right in our tortilla. The salmon looks so good. I also want to know earlier, we didn't add any oil or anything because the salmon is really full of all those wonderful heart healthy fats that it really doesn't need much extra. And I'm just topping with some of this salsa. I wish you guys were here that I could serve up tacos for all of you to enjoy, but we'll save that for a later date. But just a really easy meal that can be made in 20 minutes or less. We made it, start to finish here, and incorporates a lot of those really great brain foods. So I just want to thank both of you so much for joining me today, sharing a lot of great information about brain health and the importance of that, and just all the great work the Brain Center is doing. And on our end at Festival Foods, if you are looking for more recipes and resources from our mealtime mentors, our team of registered dietitians, you can find those at festfoods.com/meals. From there, you can also sign up for our weekly appetite email, or you could text appetite to 78402 if you'd like to receive just some meal ideas, recipe ideas to your inbox every week. Is there anything else you guys would like to share before we wrap up today?
Quick comment. Do you have a huge traffic jam out in front? Everybody coming, say they want salmon and all these fresh things right now, because that's what they're going to have this noon or tonight?
Mhm.
Yes, yeah, all the smells. People, at least in our office right now, are like, "That's smelling really good," for sure.
I would just say the visual too, what our eyes see, our tummy wants, and to have something so visually appealing in addition to being very healthy for our bodies and brains was such a wonderful recipe for you to share. We just really, really thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit more about what we're doing at the Brain Center and how we can support individuals and the community. And if people are looking for more information about any of our programming, we have a website and we'd love for them to go over there. I did just want to mention too, because of the generosity of wonderful donors in this community, we're able to offer all of our programs and services free of charge. So we welcome all through our doors.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you both, Chris and Dr. Lula, for joining me today. And we'll look forward to chatting with you guys again soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Lauren.